First of all, I'd like to just welcome everyone here and welcome you to a new week where we're going to focus our attention on the minority enterprise development. As you see, there's some folks here and the one on his way that's going to be talking a little bit about why this is important to us. And I'm going to introduce the mayor, who's also made this important to his cabinet and made it very important to the way that the city works. And so I want to welcome now the mayor, our 51st mayor, to just talk a little bit about why this is important to us.
Good morning. Thank you, Paul. And thanks to you and the Office of Small, Minority, and Women-Owned Businesses and Scott Phillips of Advanced Manufacturing Center for organizing this event. I would also like to acknowledge our Comptroller, Joan Pratt, who have joined us. I would also like to thank our sponsor, White & Turner Contracting Company, Trinity Sterl, Meridian Management Group, Regional Manufacturing Institute of Maryland, the Governor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business Affairs, and the Maryland Department of Commerce. This center cultivates and support minority manufacturing in the Mid-Atlantic region and beyond by improving access to contracts, financial and domestic and global marketing opportunities, fostering key industry relationships, and leveraging businesses, enterprise, and technology. On September the 1st, 2019, the Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business was awarded $300,000 to develop a manufacturing innovation hub. The Manufacturing Innovation Hub will create a cooperative focus on developing an ecosystem based on the needs of minority manufacturers with an emphasis on small-scale manufacturing in the urban core. Along with the Office of Small, Minority, and Women Businesses, the Mid-Atlantic Region, MBDA, Advanced Manufacturing Center, Baltimore, I am working to cultivate and build resources to ensure the success of our local emerging companies. We are witnessing a new area in manufacturing in Baltimore that is changing constantly. We look forward to the future of this program and the future of advanced manufacturing in Baltimore. Finally, I want to thank U.S. Senator Ben Cardin for his partnership this week. I'm excited to designate October the 7th through October the 11th, 2019 as Minority Enterprise Development and Supply Diversity and Inclusion Week in Baltimore. Activities during the week will include MBE site tours on Tuesday, October the 8th, Minority Manufacturing Symposium on Thursday, October the 10th, and a federal procurement fair that I'm hosting with Senator Ben Cardin on Friday, October the 11th. In 2013, the MBDA Baltimore Business Center was launched and made possible through a 3-year, $900,000 grant that was awarded in September of 2013 from the U.S. Department of Commerce. Minority Business Development Agency, MBDA, Baltimore City was the only municipality in 2013 to be awarded this grant. In September 2016, the U.S. Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency awarded a 5-year, $1,250,000 competitive grant to operate a Mid-Atlantic Advanced Manufacturing Center in Baltimore. By leveling the playing field and creating programs that use equity as its foundation, we will build a better Baltimore. And Paul, I want to present this proclamation to you that reads whereas 2019 Minority Enterprise Development, Supply, Diversity, Inclusion Week, October the 7th through the 11th, 2019. Whereas the Mayor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women Businesses serve as the City of Baltimore's advocate for small, local, minority, and women-owned companies, including prime contractors, subcontractors, and joint venture partners. And whereas their office provides support for small, local, minority-owned, and women-owned companies seeking to do business with the City of Baltimore by expanding contracting opportunities and increasing the procurement dollars spent with minority and women-owned companies. And whereas this week was created to raise awareness about the critical role minority and women-owned businesses play in Baltimore at a time when they need our support the most, and offer business owners an opportunity to network and learn about new trends in the industry. And whereas the City of Baltimore commends minority and women-owned businesses for their commitment and entrepreneurial spirit, thank you for all your hard work and dedication. Therefore, I, Bernard C. Jack Young, Mayor of the City of Baltimore, do hereby proclaim October 7th through the 11th, 2019 as Minority Enterprise Development Week, Supplies, Diversion, and Inclusion in Baltimore, and do urge all citizens to join in this celebration and support minority and women-owned business. and witness whereof I have hereunto set the great seal of the city of Baltimore to be affixed this 7th day of October 2019. Bernard C. Jack Young.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. That was a surprise.
Okay. So, you're the next speaker.
Yes. So, what I'd like to do now is to introduce Scott, who's going to just introduce to us his leader. Well, not his leader, because my office operates this, but to provide him with some context and to also introduce Mr. Childs.
Good morning, and thank you for being here this morning. My name is Scott Phillips, and I'm honored to serve as the director of the Mid-Atlantic MBDA Advanced Manufacturing Center in Baltimore. This is a moment in history. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the creation of the United States Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency. National Med Week, which was held just a few weeks ago in Washington, D.C., was established to recognize and promote minority business development. Several years ago, the city of Baltimore began celebrating its own Med Week and Supplier Diversity Inclusion Week to highlight the importance of minority business in our region. Our business center has been the cornerstone of this special week. The center is funded by a grant received from the United States Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency and operated by the Mayor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women-Owned Business. Our center has the task of providing business consulting services to minority manufacturers in the Mid-Atlantic region. We assist firms like one of our sponsors, Trinity Sterile, a medical device company that employs over 100 people. We assist firms focused in a wide array of manufactured products, from 3D printed materials to augmented reality devices, to clothing design and production, food product production, and natural hair and skin care, just to name a few. Our role is to assist clients with accessing capital, expanding markets, securing contracts and clients, and encouraging them to engage in export opportunities. Over the course of our 5 years relationship with MBDA, we have helped our clients secure millions of dollars in procurement and financing. We advocate on behalf of minority businesses every day. Over the course of the next 5 days, our work with the minority manufacturers will be highlighted, and we plan to inform, instruct, and inspire. I'm extremely excited about our Minority Manufacturing Symposium on Thursday, which will feature our mayor, Bernard C. Jack Young, in a morning engagement and Q&A, sales skills training by Benjamin Gaither, marketing professor and retired IBM sales executive, our billion-dollar buying panel featuring Aaron Sher Smith, our very own Chief Procurement Officer, Jimmy Reed, the Special Secretary of the Governor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business Affairs, Bernard Lahat, Vice President of Whiting Turner, who's joined us this morning, and Michelle Howard, Director of Equal Rights and Fair Practices with the Maryland Transportation Authority. We will close out the day with client pitch sessions, which will feature opportunities for our clients to present to bankers, business advisors, and buyers. Pulling this week together has been a team effort. I want to thank our sponsors, Whiting Turner, Trinity Sterile, and Meridian Management Group. I also want to thank our partners, the Mayor's Office, RMI of Maryland, Maryland Department of Commerce, the Governor's Office of Small, Minority, Women Business Affairs, and all the members of the Mid-Atlantic team who have joined us today, who work every day to advocate on behalf of our clients, and our producer of our symposium, Graybo, and Ms. Shalonda Stokes. I encourage you to get the word out so that we can share the resources of the center and our partners with the minority business community. You can find out more about MedWeek by visiting www.baltimorembda.com. This week would not be possible if it not for the agency our next speaker leads. I am referring to the National Director of the United States Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency, Mr. Henry Childs II. Mr. Childs is a dynamic leader. He is refocusing MBDA to increase its impact on the minority business community. He wants to spur more investment in minority-owned enterprises, create more jobs, and create greater wealth in the minority business community. He's called for significant policy shifts within the agency with a focus on engaging minority business in advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and the Internet of Things. As he says, minorities must participate in the fourth industrial revolution. As Mr. Childs comes to the podium, I want to personally thank him and MBDA for recently approving a supplemental grant that will allow the City of Baltimore to create our first manufacturing innovation hub. Please welcome the National Director, Mr. Henry Childs II.
Thank you. All right, well, first of all, I want to thank the City of Baltimore. Baltimore is a great city. I want to thank the mayor, and I want to thank MBDA. 51 years ago, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And 50 years ago, MBDA was born. And we were born of the dream to create economic justice. And today is a testimony to the triumphs that we've had in supporting minority businesses. And we believe Baltimore's resurgence and America's resurgence, minority businesses are the backbone of that. And with changing demographics, we will have to rely on our minority businesses more than ever. So our goal is to use some of these advanced technologies as opportunities to knock down some of the barriers that have restricted us from access to capital, markets, and management skills. So I thank MBDA, I thank the mayor, and I thank the City of Baltimore, because together we can win the future. Thank you.
Okay. Is that it? Any questions from anybody about this program?
Has there been any thought specific to opportunity zones and how your offices, the hubs, can integrate those opportunities as they lie?
Yes, and actually we've been working very closely with BDC, where Mr. Siegel is operating out of, and we've had several meetings where we're talking about how do we make sure that either there's a fund that's created or that there's business opportunities that can be created around those. So we're definitely looking at those opportunities.
What percentage of businesses in Baltimore are minority owned? And has that number been growing or has it been decreasing?
So it has been growing.
Okay.
In fact, we think that there's probably about 30% of the businesses here are minority-owned businesses, and that somewhere around 13,000 businesses that we know of right now. But that has been growing in Baltimore City. Yes. Some of them are very small right now, but we think that we have opportunities to help them grow.
How successful has your office been in helping establish new businesses and grow existing businesses that are minority owned, and how do you gauge that?
Very good question. So one of the things that I think is important in helping those small businesses to grow and to sort of gauge that is, one is to have the resource available. And what we've learned is that our office cannot do it alone, and so we've been looking very closely at what city services can do, what some of the private organizations around can do, and how do we connect all of them in one ecosystem. And so we've been working on those things to make this happen. We think we've been successful. In fact, the ecosystem is getting stronger. What I mean by that, all the service providers are now talking to each other and not living in silos.
And how are you judging that success?
So we have some resources. You might see a banner that we have here called SourceLink. We're actually measuring that. We can see their interactions between the small businesses in the community. We can see the interactions between all of the microenterprise resource providers in the community also.
You do this work 365 days a year. What is special about this week? Like, what do you hope to accomplish this week?
So, I think it's important to focus attention on when we have when we have a week where we can sort of focus our attention on this is something that the administration cares about, this is something the administration is focused on, I think it's always good to celebrate that. And so this week implements that focus for us.
All right, anything else?
Yeah,
Just for this, we're gonna do general questions after.
right. Do you want to share any thoughts at the federal level as to how minority-owned business interests can dovetail with the Opportunity Zone program?
Yeah. So basically, one of the good things of the Opportunity Zones policy is it's a way to move capital into areas where it normally doesn't go into, and we're talking about distressed areas. And unfortunately, a lot of our minority people live in these communities where capital generally doesn't travel. So what this legislation is trying to do is it's supposed to focus resources, attention, and money into the areas that we need the most. And one of the things that's another great thing is you can invest in minority business. A lot of times when you hear about these economic development things is you get a lot of outside money coming in to lure businesses in, and a lot of times what it does is it displaces the people there and it displaces the businesses there. Our focus at MBDA is to make sure that any development that happens in minority communities, that minority businesses and the people in these areas are the cornerstone and the foundation of the building plan. Because we don't want to be locked out, and we don't want people coming in making decisions for us on what to do. We want to be at the center of the table because these are our communities, and we love them, and we're going to help them grow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, tell us about this deal with the Preakness. What does it involve? Where do we go from here? What are the stumbling blocks that have to be accomplished, Jeff?
Well, as you know, the Stronach Group, along with our team, Bill Cole, Mr. Rifkin, and the lawyer for the Stronach Group, met at the urging of me and Belinda. We met at the Preakness, and we decided that we wanted to take a pause and sit down and see how we can work to come to common ground. And I told them that as long as the Preakness stay in Baltimore, we can make sure that law and every other project that they wanted to get done will be able to get done. So our team worked and worked and worked and came up with the deal that we have now. And I can't thank our legislators enough for their support and their help in Annapolis and the community that rallied around this whole Pimlico project. So I think it's a good project that's really going to preserve the Preakness in Baltimore and have Law as the racing headquarters for racing. Our main goal was to keep the Preakness in Baltimore.
Can you talk a little bit more? I mean, you were really instrumental in turning this going from litigation to conversation. Just the approach that you took with Belinda and how you feel about everything happening now.
Well, at the Preakness, I was invited to various tents. Hers was one of them. And went and talked, sit down and have a conversation with her. I asked her, could we sit down and talk? And we sit there and we discussed a lot of things. And her main concern was this lawsuit. And she asked would I stop the lawsuit so we can go forward and have a conversation. And I said, sure. I said, we can do that. I want to work in good faith. And I'm hoping that you're going to work in good faith, which she agreed to. And our team got together, our lawyers, was skeptical at first, but I said we need to get this done. I mean, we need to stop the lawsuit. We need to sit down and negotiate and come to some compromise. I said, because I think we can get a win-win out of this, and we did that. So I'm happy with what went on, and I'm looking forward to going to Annapolis to try to convince the legislators that this is something that's good, not only for Baltimore, but for the region. So I'm happy with the outcome.
Have you spoken to the governor, and if so, what did you speak about?
No, I haven't spoken to the governor yet because the governor was, as you know, was out of town. And trying to get to him was kind of difficult. But I'm quite sure that the governor will support this because it's a win-win for everyone, you know. We did make sure that his team received, you know, news of what we had accomplished. And I think they received it very well, as far as I know. So I'm happy about it.
Do you have any plans to speak to him soon?
Absolutely. I mean, he's the leader of the state. You know, got to speak to him to make sure that his input and his support is there.
This deal apparently calls for a slightly less larger infield fast, and what the previous have passed may be something new. It calls for a lot of new corporate spots, a new grandstand. Could you talk about those details and how that?
I really can't go into those details because those details was worked out between the parties. But I do know there's going to be a new clubhouse that's going to be built, and I know that Sinai have their properties that they're going to redevelop, and the land that they donated to the city. Companies will be looking at RFPs to do the piece that they want. I understand there's going to be someone that's floating the idea of a hotel, a grocery store. It's going to be a lot of amenities, and it's going to all be including with community input, because that's the number one thing. Sometimes communities are on the outside looking in. We're going to make sure that the community is at the table, not only for the construction jobs, but jobs after this project is fully realized.
Does this involve taking additional properties down in the neighborhood, or is it all going to be?
It's all within the footprint of the racetrack. If it spurred development outside of the footprint, that's what we want. But we want to make sure that no one is displaced or the neighborhood is not gentrified.
So there will be a grocery store on the property and a hotel?
That's what they're talking about, attracting a grocery store and a hotel. As you know, Sinai does a lot of, good medical work, and sometimes people come from out of state and out of town and going to need somewhere to stay, and that'll be a perfect place for them too. Similar to what we did at Hopkins with the Marriott Residence Inn, which has hundreds and hundreds of families from around the country staying at that hotel while they receive treatment at Hopkins. So we envision the same thing at Pimlico.
Obviously, there's still some legislation to be passed. The governor needs
Right.
to get on board. Are you feeling optimistic that this will
I'm
happen?
feeling very optimistic that this will happen. The President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House made some encouraging comments. I really think that, then we had Baltimore County Exec Johnny Olszewski and Stuart Pittman from Anne Arundel County, who was big supporters as well of getting this deal done. So I think all the partners are there. I think we'll get probably support from around the state, because the Preakness is not only Baltimore, it's Baltimore's, but it's the state's as well. So.
You mentioned your perception that the plan was received well by the governor's office. Can you go into any more detail?
I can't speak for the governor. I can only tell you that we haven't received any negative response from what we sent them.
If the state approves it, how will the city manage this going forward?
Well, BDC is the entity, along with the Maryland Stadium Authority, will take the lead on this project. And I think those two entities working together can get this job done.
Anything else? Do you think the plan speaks to a style difference between yourself and the previous administration? Can you speak to that?
I wouldn't say that. I would have to give former Mayor Pugh credit for even having a lawsuit over, the head of the Stronach Group. Our legislators really played a great part, like I said, with Delegate Nick Mosby, with his legislation. So there's a lot of people to thank, especially the community. But our legislators deserve a whole lot of the credit. Our negotiation team deserve a lot of credit. So I think it's a good win-win for the city. I think it's a good win-win for Lowell. It's a good win-win for Baltimore County and Anne Arundel County, because the spillover from the race, people stay at hotels outside of the city, inside the city. So it's an economic boom for everybody. And I think it's a win-win. And I can't emphasize that enough. That is a win-win.
So that lawsuit is what sort of opened the door for the...
Removing the lawsuit, opened the door for conversation. I felt that we should just take a pause and sit down and have a general conversation. We had a real good conversation at the Preakness. I really enjoyed speaking to Belinda. A lot of people were optimistic about whether they were going to be truthful and honest. And I found her to be truthful and honest. And all I could do was trust her. And look where we are today.
And why is this the route, I guess, that they took to decide to just donate the Pimlico to the city and basically step back?
I think, it was a smart move on their end to actually get where we are now. And the land that's donated to the city, the Maryland Stadium Authority and BDC going to attract developers in conjunction with working with the community to see what it is that their community like to see there. And I think we're going to move forward. I think it's just a great deal. You know, I'm happy, you know, about the deal. I'm really happy about it. Some of the community members that I've talked to are real excited about the prospect of the Preakness staying there. Because as you know, when the Preakness is there, there's an economic impact to those people who have large yards, large fronts, where they charge for parking, that people want to just come park there so they can have a quick exit out. They make money. Then you have people who have their little stands there selling all kinds of food items and drinks. I mean, it really, really helps the community to make some money when the Preakness is there.